Alright, so I am glazing my Bountiful vase, and as a reminder, the symbols on here, this could represent wind or water, and these represent fish scales, and then these represent the butterflies. And on the inside here, I started glazing it with a dark gray glaze, and so I'm just using this Mako Stroke Coat, and I'm doing about 3 or 4 layers. And then for the outside, I have this Dunkin' Pure Brilliance, and this is great because this is a brushing glaze, so it doesn't have to be dipped, so I can just do this anytime. And it's also non-toxic, so it's going to be good for use with students as well. And the great thing too is it dries opaque, so it's easy to tell where you've already put it down when it's dry. Okay, so I have begun laying down the coat of this clear glaze, and as you can see, it dries a nice opaque green that makes it very easy to see where I've painted and make sure I haven't missed any spots. So I really like how this glaze paints on to make it easy. So I'm going to do 2 to 3 coats as recommended on the bottle, and then it'll be ready to fire. And most of my pieces will be finished with this same kind of glaze. Alright, so I am now doing the clear glaze on my platter. So I'm starting with the bottom side, and as you can see, I'm leaving the middle for the stilt to sit on. And that part won't receive the clear glaze, but the rest of the outer side will, and then the inside of the platter will also receive the clear glaze. And that is all that needs to be done to this piece to finish it. Alright, here is the first coat on the inside of the platter, and what's interesting is you can still kind of see the imprint from the paper resist showing through, so I'm very excited to see whether that bumpiness from where the paper resist was carries through after the firing with the glaze, or whether it ends up being completely smooth. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm going to do 2 more coats on this, and then it will be ready to be fired as well. Alright, here are my bowls, and I have fired these, and you can see on this one, I cleaned it a little bit better, so this is a pretty light color compared to this, but there are spaces I would like to be darker. And same with this one. This one has nice darker lines, but it's also some of the areas didn't get wiped as well. So what I'm going to do first is take my glaze. This one's going to be super dark brown, and this one's going to be black. And I'm going to fill in these lines one more time and wipe them clean, because I can see that there's space for some of these to be filled a little bit better. And then I'm also going to paint the inside so that they're solid versus leaving them kind of more rustic looking. And then on the outside, I'll do a clear glaze over the rest of the clay. So that's my plan with these. Alright, so I'm going to let this dry just a second before I wipe the surface clean. Alright, I have this damp sponge that I've squeezed all the water out of to wipe it. So I'm going to start where they are the driest. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to go clean my sponge water so that I can have a nice clean sponge to do the second wipe. Alright, I think that's going to help a little bit. I'm going to let this dry completely, and then I'm going to paint the inside with the same color glaze that I used to fill in these spaces. And then I'm going to do a clear coat over the outside. So I think the staining on the outside looks a little more even as well now. So hopefully when it fires the second time with the clear glaze on top, the outside will look a little more even, and the designs will be easier to see than they were when it first came out of the kiln. All right, now I'm going to do this one. I think that's about as good as that's going to get. I think it helped a little bit. I think it helped on the sloth more. Probably because I had wiped the surface better to begin with. But I'm hoping it'll look really cool with the clear glaze on top of it. And the darker inside, hopefully it'll kind of make up for some of that. And so it's a really good learning process for me. I learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work, so I can try new things next time. So I'm going to let this dry to make sure everything is set inside the lines. And then I'm going to do the color on the inside to match the line work. And then I'm going to do clear glaze on top of the rest. All right, here are my Mashima bowls, and what I've done is I actually sanded off some of the darker color that had remained after the firing to try to make these lines stand out more, and I think it's been quite successful, especially on this one that had stayed way too dark from the underglaze. So I went ahead and painted the inside with a matching Wonder Glaze from the Stroke and Coat from Mako. And so now what I'm going to do is do a clear glaze on the outside. And so again, I am using the Duncan Pure Brilliance clear brushing glaze. And this just needs 2 to 3 coats. I'm going to just do 2. I did 3 on the other one and it seemed to be a little thick. So I'm going to try 2 for these. All right, I finished adding the clear glaze to my bowls. And then I've been working on my turtle base. So here you can see I've been painting the turtles green. That's with Mako Stroke and Coat, and it's green over brown. So hoping to get some of the brown to show through. And then I did just 1 layer of a sand colored Mako Stroke and Coat glaze over the brown sand to lighten it up a little bit and have it have a little bit of shine from the glaze. But I want to keep some of the texture and maybe even have some of the matte showing through so it looks more like sand. So I only did 1 coat so some of the brown will still show through. This area up here with the turtles in the water will get a clear glaze because I want to keep the colors just the way they are. And then I'll also do a clear glaze on the brown on the inside. Here is my What's Your Poison mug with my Rana Doradas, and it has fired quite nicely. It looks even better than I thought it would at this point. So as long as the clear glaze goes good, I'm super happy with how this turned out. The handle is actually intact and I can't see any cracks where I've attached it, which I'm extremely pleased about. And I'm going to do just the plain clear glaze again with the Duncan clear brushing glaze. Here is my macaw platter, and the colors turned out beautiful. I was a little bit worried about overlapping, that they might come out muddy, but they didn't. I've got some different colors showing through layers, but I think it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see it with the clear glaze. And then the tree bark, you can see those brown lines showed up really well, making it look bark-like. And even the texture in the leaves here is really good. So I'm going to clear glaze these items and then put them in the kiln with everything else. And then that is all I have left to do for my showcase pieces.